Okay guys, so since everyone's so busy these days, I'm gonna explain to you how the dairy industry works in 5 minutes. Like other female mammals, cows only lactate, or produce milk, when they're pregnant or have a newborn to feed. So the dairy industry inseminates or impregnates cows starting at the age of around 12 months over and over and over again so they keep making milk. And it's a rather routine process. You see, first the industry jacks off a bunch of bulls, sometimes using a hand or help from an electro-ejaculator, which is basically a giant cow dildo that goes into the anus of the bull until he blows. And that semen is collected and then inserted into the vagina of a female cow with a long tube, usually while she's confined in what the industry calls a rape rack. And sometimes they put their fist right into the anus of the female cow, you know, to loosen the area.
To make the process as effective as possible.
What are you feeling for in there when you... Oh, it's a bit jumpy. I think I would be if someone did that to me.
Just bringing it out. He massages a little bit just to relax everything and help that semen go where it needs to go.
You must be responsible for a lot of calves.
Yes.
And when that baby cow is born, it's pretty much immediately taken away from its mother and locked in a crate. Because if it stayed around mom, it would drink her milk. And that shit's for us. And you see, a mother cow's bond with her young is very strong and affectionate, and she sometimes cries out for days in search of her baby. But nobody gives a shit. If the baby's a male, his throat is slit and he's sold for veal. And if it's a girl, she's raised to be a milk machine like mom. So dairy cows are continuously, repeatedly kept pregnant their whole lives to keep them lactating. This leads to premature aging, exhaustion, and mastitis, a painful yet common condition in dairy cows, which is inflammation and sometimes infection of the udder. Pus and blood in the milk of dairy cows is also common, so it's usually filtered. But not completely, because in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, up to 400,000 somatic cells are legally allowed in every milliliter of cow's milk. And in the United States, 750,000 somatic cells per milliliter. In Brazil, 1 million. And somatic cells, most of which in this case are white blood cells, are the same thing that erupt on the top of a big zit, so you could call it pus. The more bacteria, inflammation, and infection, the higher the somatic cell count. But don't worry, there's a limit. And when a dairy cow is finally too physically and emotionally exhausted to continue on, she collapses. These cows are called downers, and they are dragged out by whatever means to be killed and sold for beef. It's common in the industry, even on organic dairy farms, for cows to go down after about 4 or 5 years of continuous milk production. But peak milk production declines around 4 to 5 years anyways, so if the dairy cows are still standing, they're gonna be killed for hamburgers and beef regardless. You see, the dairy industry is the meat industry. Almost every single dairy cow that you will ever buy milk that came from ends up being killed for meat. So if you're vegetarian, you might want to think about this, because at least when you're being raised for meat, you're just raised for meat and killed. But when you're a dairy cow, you are sexually exploited and emotionally and physically exhausted until you can't take it anymore, and then you're killed for meat. Sounds worse to me. And the natural lifespan of a cow that hasn't been completely exploited? 20 to 25 years, y'all. And as far as the calcium and protein thing goes, study after study after study has shown that those consuming the highest quantities of dairy actually have the highest cases of bone fracture and osteoporosis. And there are dozens of amazing plant-based sources of calcium and protein, so you really don't need to suck the tits of a cow. I mean, the dairy industry has wormed their way into education systems, nutritional programs, and media to convince us that we need to drink milk. But when you're in school learning about how good milk is for you, that's not because there was a panel of people who care about your health that determined that. That's because the dairy industry paid lots of money for you and your children to hear that message in school, and on TV, and on billboards, and magazines, and for your doctors who don't have to take more than a few hours of a nutrition course to tell you to drink your milk. You see, rhino milk is for baby rhinos. Dog's milk is for baby dogs. Cat's milk for baby cats. Rat milk is for baby rats. And cow's milk is for humans? No, it's for baby cows. And vegans are crazy? dairy is
Fucking scary.
Try almond milk, hemp milk, soy milk, flax milk, rice milk, Brazil nut milk, macadamia nut milk, cashew milk, any milk but dairy milk.
She's got a nice, beautiful slick coming out. That's a very good sign.
Also for timing.